Gorgias of Leontini, who lived from around 485 BCE to around 380 BCE, was a Greek sophist and pioneering rhetorician who influenced ancient philosophical and rhetorical thought. Originally from Sicily, he became famous for his eloquent speeches and for being among the first sophists to treat rhetoric as a formal art of persuasion. His work resonated deeply in classical Greece, particularly with ideas that questioned traditional views on reality, truth, and language. One of Gorgias's most provocative contributions is found in his treatise on non-being, where he presented radical skeptical ideas. In this work, he famously proposed three paradoxical statements that aimed to challenge the foundations of metaphysics and epistemology. First, nothing exists. Gorgias claimed that if we try to define existence, it collapses into paradoxes, and we cannot prove it conclusively. Second, if something exists, we cannot know it. Even if reality were to exist, our subjective perception is so limited that true knowledge remains out of reach. And third, if we could know something, we could not communicate it. Language, Gorgias argued, is inherently flawed and incapable of conveying objective truth, as each person interprets words differently. These propositions were not necessarily intended as absolute truths, but as intellectual exercises that illustrated the limitations of human understanding. Gorgias pushed his audience to reconsider what they took for granted about reality and knowledge. His arguments prompted debates that led to fundamental inquiries into the nature of being, perception, and the effectiveness of language as a tool for expressing truth. Gorgias's skepticism about knowledge and communication was radical for his time, diverging from the philosophical inquiries of predecessors like Parmenides and Heraclitus, who sought to understand the nature of existence. Instead, Gorgias pointed out the limitations of philosophy itself, showing that definitive answers to such questions might be forever beyond our reach. In addition to his philosophical views, Gorgias was also a master of rhetoric. He treated rhetorical skill as an art form, emphasizing the emotional and psychological impact of speech over the objective truth of arguments. His rhetorical techniques can be observed in his two famous speeches, Encomium of Helen and Defense of Palamedes. In the Encomium of Helen, Gorgias argued that Helen of Troy, often blamed for sparking the Trojan War, should not be held responsible for the events that followed. Using a series of creative arguments, he suggested that Helen acted under external forces beyond her control, the will of the gods, the persuasive power of speech, or the effects of love. Through these arguments, Gorgias demonstrated the power of words to alter perceptions, showing that blame and guilt could be reassigned simply through skillful rhetoric. He argued that persuasion is a powerful force that can compel people to act irrationally or against their true interests. In his Defense of Palamedes, Gorgias continued to explore rhetorical techniques, this time by defending Palamedes, a mythical figure accused of betraying the Greeks during the Trojan War. Gorgias presented Palamedes as an innocent victim who had been falsely accused, using rhetorical tools to highlight the instability of truth and justice. This work further reinforced his belief in the power of language to shape reality and to redefine concepts of right and wrong based on persuasive arguments rather than objective truths. Gorgias's contributions positioned him as a central figure in the sophistic movement, a philosophical tradition characterized by its emphasis on rhetoric, relativism, and skepticism toward traditional moral and epistemic claims. Unlike philosophers who sought objective truth, sophists like Gorgias emphasized the contingent and constructed nature of reality. To them, what mattered was not absolute truth, but the ability to argue persuasively and to influence audiences. Despite criticisms from contemporaries like Plato, who saw sophists as manipulative and morally dubious, Gorgias's ideas left a lasting impact. His work encouraged a deeper understanding of language as a medium that does not simply reflect reality, but actively shapes it. By questioning the certainty of knowledge and showing the subjective nature of interpretation, he laid groundwork for subsequent thinkers in philosophy, linguistics, and communication theory. In essence, Gorgias viewed language as a powerful tool that extends beyond mere description. He believed that words could construct alternate realities, manipulate perceptions, and control emotions. For Gorgias, The success of rhetoric depended not on the truth of statements, but on their effectiveness and ability to persuade. This view made Gorgias a highly influential figure. He demonstrated how language could be wielded like a weapon, turning rhetoric into an art form capable of changing perceptions and challenging accepted beliefs. Through his skepticism, Gorgias invited people to question what they believed about reality, showing that truth might be less about objective facts and more about persuasive power. Today, Gorgias is remembered as one of the first thinkers to expose the limitations of human understanding and the flexibility of language. His ideas resonate through modern philosophy, particularly in the areas of existentialism, postmodernism, and deconstruction, where questions about the nature of reality, language, and truth continue to be explored.